So in the last video we left off with the main carcasses being built. At this point I'll cut the backs for these. I prefer to put backers on all of my cabinetry. I know some people don't. I do it for two reasons. Number one, it's easier to square up the entire cabinet with a backer if the backer is not square, which means it doesn't meet properly on all four corners. It's a very simple way to figure out it's out of square, and it's easy to shift the backer to square up the cabinets. Number two, it just creates a situation where the cabinets can't turn into parallelograms on you. Now granted, all of this is going to be screwed into the wall, so it's a little less important with something like that. It's not this isn't freestanding cabinetry, but you can see without the back I can move it pretty easily back and forth. And it will go with my motion, and you could see without the backs I could tell right away these aren't square because the styles of the cabinets aren't meeting perfectly. But those are the two main reasons I prefer to do it. It's easier to square up the cabinet, and it just makes for a stronger final product. I say this in my videos quite often. I make what I consider to be as close to heirloom furniture as possible. I want this to last forever. And sometimes furniture will last really well through a year, through 4 seasons, but then all of a sudden multiple changes in humidity throughout the course of a couple years can make something break down. I've seen people talking about that on YouTube. So I do put the extra effort into making this as strong as possible, especially since it's customer products. The last thing I want is someone calling me and telling me I have to come fix something. So you can see with the backer in place, all of a sudden the cabinets don't move, which makes sense. They can't at this point. This is just 1/2 inch material I have that I'm cutting down. You can use quarter. I used 1/2 inch because I had it in the shop for making the drawers, and it's easier to a 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch sheet of ply is about the same price right now. So on the last one you could see I didn't have enough to do a full sheet. I didn't want to order another full sheet for the customer, so I just made sure that my seams were behind where the shelves were on that cabinet. You'll never be able to tell that it's pieced out in the back on that last cabinet, so that's how I did that. For gluing these up, I went through and I took the top off, because like I said, these are already very well put together, so I didn't want to completely take them apart. So I took the top off. You can see I added glue, and then I could set it back in place. The important part here is making sure the shelves are flush in the front as well as flush in the back. If they're not, you'll get gaps between the backer and you'll get gaps between the face frame. So you can see I went around and made sure that they were all square. On a project like this, if you have little gaps, it's not as big of a deal because this is all going to be painted. So it's very easy to fix mistakes on painted furniture. If you're a novice starting out, one of the biggest suggestions I could give people is start with painting stuff because it's much easier to fix your mistakes. If a built-in like this was going to be stained, you have to put a lot more effort into making sure everything's perfect. So once I had that top side glued, you could see I took the other side off. Same process, added some glue, could flip it, can true it up, and then just go ahead and put all of my screws back in place. This is the plus side to dry fitting everything. Not only did I know that everything would fit on the top of the cabinet before permanently gluing it, and once you permanently glue this stuff, it's not going to come apart easily, if at all. It's also easier for the actual glue up. Now because these cabinets don't have any base, they're just sitting on top of the tabletop I'm making, I made sure to add extra screws in the bottom. Now you can see I could tell right away this is off square just because the base is longer on one side than the other. If I hammer this up, it is going to square up this entire cabinet perfectly. So that is kind of a visual representation of one of the main issues I use this for. So you can see I'm adding that other screw in the corner because like I said, this won't have a base on the bottom holding everything together. I can tell that because my bottom's flat and everything's matching, I double check my diagonals just to be safe, but I knew if it matched on the bottom that it was square, and it was. I did clamp it, you could see, because it's pretty long, so I didn't want it to bow as I was screwing on the back. I put chalk lines showing me where all the screw holes should be. It just makes life easier. and then I just go through and add the backer. Now you can glue this in place because this is all plywood. I usually keep them separate because these are pretty big pieces of furniture. Sometimes in a space it is convenient to be able to take the back off, and it will still be stable with just some screws. And then you could see I could just put everything back in place. I'm gluing each one as I go, flipping them to the front. You could see now that there's no gaps whatsoever on my vertical stiles. So that is another indication that these are all square. Not only is the squareness important for the face frame, on built-ins it's really important they're square. I give myself some leeway, about 1/2 of an inch in all dimensions in case the stuff doesn't fit. But if things are really out of square, not only will it not look good, but chances are it will not fit in the space. So then I went through and I made my face frame for this. It's going to be the exact same way I made the face frame for the drawers. I have a bunch of poplar, and I'm also going to be finishing up the filing cabinets because the drawers on the bottom are filing cabinets. You can see I made a quick cut list, and I could go through and rip all this stuff down. Most of this is going to be 1-inch pieces. So for this, I'm using pre-finished wood from Lowe's. This is poplar. All my paint grade materials, my hardwood of choice is poplar. This stuff is more expensive than buying rough lumber, but this built-in was interesting. I've talked about this before. It was delayed, but then when it was needed very quickly, and I also wanted it out of my shop. So a lot of times when I choose to use pre-finished materials like this, even though it's more expensive, it works out because it saves labor time. I don't have to spend the time planing and attempting to joint all of that material. It's already done for me. So that is why I opt to use that sort of material occasionally in the shop. So then I had the same issue on this with I did at the bottom, whereas the way I was attaching the face frames I really enjoyed, but wherever there was going to be a perpendicular line where my horizontals were meeting my verticals, I had to remove a little bit of material so my vertical stiles would fit in place. Not a huge deal breaker, but just wanted to point out you have to do that. And then I'm going to cut all the vertical stiles first. I left all this material long. I just did a test cut, made sure it was flush on the inside of the cabinet, which I wanted, and I had about a 1/4 inch overhang on the edge. That is so just like the bottoms, the cabinet will meet on only 2 contact points, the front and the back, so the chances of being able to level it in the space is much easier. If you're meeting side to side on the base, especially with the quality of plywood nowadays, the chances of that long, it's a little over 6 foot tall, these cabinets, the chances of that side being perfectly square is very thin. So when you eliminate that surface area and you create just 2 contact points, it makes it much easier to install these. So that is the stiles in place. I really like this method. It's going to be my new method going forward. You could see once I have that groove on there, they all pop into place, and it's just a rinse and repeat. At this point, I could put that groove on all of the pre-cut vertical stiles, pop them into place, and then I'm going to clamp these in place as well. At this point, I'm pretty happy with the progress. There's really no cracks in this or anything like that. I will permanently attach these with brads when I go to glue everything together, and it will eliminate any little gaps you're now seeing right there. So then for the edges, the vertical stiles are a little bit thicker because I keep these detached. I don't glue these up in the shop, and then once I get to the space, I could scribe these vertical stiles to get a perfect fit against the wall. So it's the same as the bottom, they're a little bit thicker. I always make these almost extremely oversized. They could have been much smaller, but I like to give myself the leeway. I've had a couple close calls with fitting stuff in spaces, so going forward I do give myself quite a bit of leeway. And then once I had all the verticals on, I could go through and do the horizontals. I cut the rough edge off, I put it up to the shelf, measure and cut all these. I'm going off camera, cutting it on the radial arm saw, coming back and popping them into place. Now all of these cabinets are give or take the exact same size. but I have found it's easier to measure as I go with stuff like this than to measure one and pre-cut everything and hope they all fit, because chances are, even though I made all of these parts identical, if you're off by a 1/16 of an inch, even a 32nd of an inch somewhere on one of these shells, it will stick out like a sore thumb. And that is all the verticals in place as well. Now the top is going to get a facade piece, so that is why I did not put top side horizontal stiles on this cabinet. That will be in the next video, which I believe is going to be the last video showing how I did that. So with those top cabinets done, I went back to the filing cabinets to finish those up. I've been going back and forth on how I wanted to do this for a little bit because filing cabinet hardware is oddly expensive. I don't really understand why it's so expensive. It's pretty much flimsy metal. So what I decided to do was make my own attachments for these. So I'm making those out of poplar as well. And basically I'm just cutting these all down to size. Now these are going on the inside of the cabinets, and all my cabinets are identical, so I decided to pre-cut all of these. It just made life easier because I was putting dados in these and I wanted the dados to all align perfectly. So this is about a 1/4 inch thick by 3/4. It's the same poplar. You can see I have a file folder, so I measured out where I need to put my dado cuts because this will be getting aluminum bars in order to hold the file folders. This is a pretty standard measurement, but I like to visualize things, so I did get a file folder of my own and lay it out to make sure it would work. I have a stop on my crosscut sled, and I could just cut grooves and all of this stuff. So you can see that is going to be the first groove. I could flip this around because it's coming off the edge, the exact same measurement, and I could do that for all of my pieces. So at this point, this is the aluminum bars I ordered online. This stuff is actually made for filing cabinets, and it was an 1/8 inch thick, but the kerf cut on my saw blade was a hair under an 1/8 inch. It just wasn't exactly an 1/8 of an inch. So I had to go through and widen all of these a little bit. Not a huge deal. I was happy I realized this as I was going before I made a bunch of moves. So I'm taking all of that stuff that I originally put kerfs in. I moved my stop over a hair and then widened all of these dados. In order to cut the other grooves in the middle, pretty simple. I could just move my stop down, line it up with my original marks, and do the exact same thing. Make the dado cuts, which are basically just kerfs at this point. These are more kerf cuts than dados. Flip it around, make the exact same cut, and then once I had all that done, I could widen them ever so slightly. It was like a 32nd of an inch off. So that is the original cuts, and then like I said, I can move my stop and I'm just widening them a little bit. So these will go in the front and the back side of the cabinet. They will hold those bars, and that's how the file folder will be held. So you'll see I'm going to mount these in the cabinet. This is a mistake. I'll show you how I fix that later. I have all the holes pre-drilled, front and the back, and that's how I could do it. Like I said, I decided to do it this way because hardware for filing cabinets is just extremely expensive. To have bought any pre-hung or pre-mounted hardware for filing cabinets would have cost hundreds of dollars for these, whereas to just buy these aluminum bars, which are for filing cabinets, I think was like 50 or 60 bucks. And if you watch any of the laser videos, you'll notice the scrap aluminum from this project I actually use as hold downs for my laser cutting projects. And then the bars just sit in those kerfs, and that is how I finish this up. Some of them are a little bit tighter fit, even though I widened them, but a hammer fixes that. And then you can see the file folder fits in there quite nicely. And obviously there's 2 rows. They preferred them mounted perpendicular to the front versus long ways. And then this is the mistake. I didn't account for the flanges at the top of these file folders. They're now hitting the top side of the cabinet. This was a bummer because I had already installed all of these when I figured this out. It wasn't a huge fix. I just had to lower it by like 3/4 of an inch. I also had to move all of my poles that I had installed for pulling out these cabinet drawers. But like I said, everything was already pre-drilled, so I just had a 3/4 inch spacer, which was a scrap piece of poplar. You can see I'm just hammering everything down to match the front, and then I could reattach everything, and then that solved that problem. But it is always a little bit of a bummer when you go and install everything and kind of stare at it for a minute, hoping it wasn't wrong, but the easiest way was to just move everything down.